In Parshat Emor, tucked between the laws of offerings and the outline of our calendar, we're instructed in Chilul and Kiddush Hashem. The verses state, "You shall perform my commandments and observe them. I am Hashem. And you shall not desecrate my holy name. I shall be sanctified among the children of Israel. I am Hashem who sanctifies you." In his Sefer HaMitzvot, Rambam identifies three categories of desecrating God's name, of Chilul Hashem. He writes, 2 fall upon the community, and 1 on individuals. The first, communal category applies when there is pressure to violate any of the Torah's precepts. Rambam elaborates, at a time of shmad, i.e. where there is a sustained policy by the oppressive ruling power to destroy Jewish observance, if under duress to violate any specific mitzvah, in public or in private, one complies, he or she is guilty of Chilul Hashem. We do not give in to the menace. Halacha extends this even down to changing our minhag, our custom of how to lace our shoes. At a time of oppression, we must not profane Hashem's name, even though that might cost us our lives. In the Shoah, poskim in the ghettos and camps, for example Rav Oshri and Kovno, differentiated between the shmad of yesteryear and the Shoah happening around him. In previous assaults on Jews, the endeavor was to subjugate and humiliate local communities by forcing violations of halacha. In the Shoah, however, the agenda was to kill all Jews and obliterate Judaism. Accordingly, the paramount obligation in the Shoah became to survive and ensure the survival of Judaism. Of course, always and even under duress, violation of the laws of idolatry, sexual impropriety, or murder are prohibited. When the wrong is done in public, which Rambam defines as an assembly of 10 adult Jews, the sin falls into the more severe category of Chilul Hashem Barabim, the public desecration of God's name. In such public circumstances, there is always an obligation to sanctify. The positive mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem is the requirement to become a martyr rather than live. Rambam makes it clear that to martyr oneself when one is not required to do so is a capital sin. In his letter to the Jews of Yemen, who were under duress to convert to Islam, he told them it would be wrong to choose death, as Islam is not idolatrous. He noted that those who had already laid down their lives for Judaism had acted wrongly, albeit with the purest of motives. The second communal category of Chilul Hashem is where someone chooses to violate a Torah precept, where he or she is not motivated by desire or enjoyment, but simply the willful demonstration of not being bound by halacha. Popping into a treif restaurant on the way into Kol Nidre, when one is not at all hungry, and devouring a cheeseburger with bacon, just for the evil thrill of it, would be such an example. At the heart of the transgression is the shrugging off of mitzvot, the pleasure of being bad, truly a desecration. The third, the individual category, pertains to conduct which is technically not a violation of other mitzvot. Rambam writes, it applies when an individual known for piety and rectitude does something that the public perceive as sinful, and therefore for such a person, though within halacha under most circumstances, this becomes a desecration of God's name. Within halacha, this translates into 2 scenarios. The first is our higher expectation of people who are pillars of the community. Whether through their frumkeit or office, those identified as role models are responsible for more than their own reputation. When they do something suspect or beneath them, even though technically permissible, they are guilty of diminishing the name of God. Public perception of what is right and wrong, even though it's not informed by halacha, has the capacity to transform the technically permissible into the gravest of sins. Trying to justify oneself through clever pilpul only exacerbates it, as people will remonstrate, what kind of ethical God could allow such behavior? It gets Jews and Judaism a bad name, where halachic principles on ownership and rights have been used to justify copyright theft or digital piracy. The second instance is broader. It makes it a chilul to cause ridicule of Jews and halacha by the outside world. It is a noteworthy sensitivity, as it sometimes pits a desire to hold true to halacha against societal norms. A grave contemporary example is where some communities have used the principles of Moser, not reporting wrong to the civil authorities, to justify the failure to report child abuse. Terrible, because of the consequent endangering of other vulnerable children. Those who rely on the laws of Moser to justify their secrecy are not only misapplying the doctrine of Moser, they are misunderstanding the fundamental framework of Judaism. We who act in Hashem's name must always edify it. Our current COVID situation has seen the very best of human nature, with manifold acts of kindness, generosity and consideration across the board. We've been confronted with challenges of pikuach nefesh and opportunities for Kiddush Hashem, showing Jewish ethics and virtues to their best. Sadly, though, there continue to be some whose religious zeal or spiritual self-confidence has set them apart from the advice of our doctors and the instructions of our legislators. They have been holding services and ceremonies which flagrantly disregard what is permitted. Chas v'sholom, I should suggest that their motives are impure. However, I am reminded of what Rambam ruled, that even if someone is acting within halacha, if the public perception is that they are acting sinfully, then that can be a chilul Hashem. That can be a chilul Hashem. We all yearn to return to our kaddishes, our kedushas, and of course to our kiddushim. Coming together as a community is at the heart of our Jewish expression. We're naturally sociable. It's a human need. We hope that we are on the verge of a release from the current strictures and lockdown. But to do it correctly is clearly the key. To observe it diligently is key. We must protect lives and not put others at risk. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha ze klal gadol b'Torah. The Torah instructs us to love our neighbor. Our enthusiasm to live the lives we want must be curtailed to enable our neighbors to live their lives and not put them at risk. May we continue to sanctify Hashem in our living by being protective and responsible for each other, and may Hashem protect us all in our lives.